There's a reason why almost everyone starts the year full of promises and ends up in exactly the same place. It's not a lack of strength nor of intelligence. It's a lack of cold, hard reading of reality. January 1st has become the biggest collective ritual of self-deception in modern society. People believe that saying it out loud will change something, that writing down goals will move the world, that wanting something badly will replace strategy. But Machiavelli warned centuries ago, those who are driven by ideals expose themselves. Those who are driven by reality take a stand. While some make promises to ease their conscience, others observe in silence and choose the territory they will dominate. This might hurt to hear, but it's liberating to understand. Enthusiasm doesn't create power, visibility doesn't create advantage, and promises don't create a future. What creates results is positioning, timing, and decisions based on real human nature. The cold ones know this. They don't start the year rushing. They start by choosing. They choose where to invest energy, when to appear, when to disappear, and most importantly, who to leave behind. The end justifies the means, and the means here aren't motivation, they're lucidity. While the masses live on the appearance of virtue, few build silent virtue. If you've ever felt like you did everything right, but still nothing changed, maybe the problem was never effort. Maybe it was the game you were playing. In this video, you'll see January 1st from an angle that almost no one else sees. Not to motivate yourself, but to position yourself. Because in the real world, those who dominate the year aren't those who promise the most. They're those who understand when to speak, when to be silent, and when to act. If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos, it's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul, an invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now. Not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder you are not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. January 1st is not just a date on the calendar. It functions as a grand collective stage where millions of people take to the stage to repeat the same script every year. Promises, resolutions, ready-made phrases, and an artificial sense of new beginnings take over the atmosphere, as if turning the page of the calendar had some magical power over human nature. An experienced mentor observes this calmly and notices something curious. The more people promise, the less things change. It's not a coincidence, it's a pattern. Politics, guided by reality, not by ideals, teaches that public rituals of promising serve more to ease the conscience than to produce real transformation. The brain feels immediate relief upon declaring intentions, almost as if the action had already been taken. And at this exact point, collective self-deception is born. Machiavelli already warned that the appearance of virtue often replaces real virtue when the focus is on appearing committed, not on building something concrete. The end justifies the means, they say. But here, the means become just empty rhetoric. Meanwhile, the world remains indifferent to the promises. He responds only to real action, quiet consistency, and decisions based on genuine human nature, not New Year's Eve excitement. Who benefits from this charade? Certainly not those who make the promises, those who understand the game and observe from the outside benefit. While the masses loudly announce their plans, they hand over predictability on a silver platter. Companies, systems, competitors, and even people around them begin to know exactly what to expect. The calculated use of force begins precisely there. knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. Promising in public creates a false sense of commitment, but it also creates exposure. Better to be feared than loved, said Machiavelli, and here that translates to being respected for consistency, not applauded for intention. The mentor sees January as a noisy month, full of speeches and poor in structure. It's like an army without strategy, full of shouts and without its own loyal armies to sustain the war throughout the year. Everyone seems busy, but almost no one is positioned. And positioning, as he knows, never arises from collective rituals, but from individual choices made away from the spotlight. There's an even more subtle detail in this ritual. It reinforces the illusion that change is easy, quick, and depends only on wanting it badly. This numbs the pain of stagnation for a few days, maybe weeks. The person posts the goal, receives likes, feels validated, and without realizing it, has already spent the energy that should be used to act. Virtù and fortuna come into play here cruelly. Fortuna favors those who act with silent virtù, not those who declare war before training their army. A simple example helps to understand. Someone who decides to change careers and announces it on the 1st rarely endures the process until June. But someone who starts studying silently, choosing the right books, such as strategic biographies or works that teach decision-making based on reality, creates an invisible advantage. The mentor smiles to see this pattern repeat itself year after year, because they know that while everyone talks, a few arm themselves in silence. And it is precisely in this contrast that the next move begins to reveal itself. Almost imperceptible, but decisive. When someone makes a promise aloud, something curious happens in their mind. The brain doesn't clearly distinguish between declared intention and executed action. And that's where the problem lies. By verbalizing a commitment, the person receives a small surge of satisfaction, almost as if they had already done the hard work. An attentive mentor explains this simply. The brain likes shortcuts, and promising becomes a dangerous emotional shortcut. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, teaches that every advantage stems from internal control, not external exposure. By promising, the individual becomes predictable, and predictability is weakness in any game, be it financial, professional, or social. Machiavelli saw this clearly when he observed that those who reveal too much of their intentions lose room for maneuver. The end justifies the means, but here the means, the promise, already sabotages the end before the journey even begins. The person feels they have progressed, when in reality, they have only talked. Furthermore, making promises creates an invisible contract with the gaze of others. From then on, every step is watched, judged, and compared. The mentor often says that this drains vital energy because the focus shifts from building to maintaining the image. The appearance of virtue replaces real progress. Instead of studying silently, the person starts explaining why they haven't begun yet. Instead of training, they justify the delay. Instead of adjusting course, they defend the promise made. Decisions based on real human nature show that human beings hate to appear inconsistent, even when they know they are wrong. And that is precisely why making promises is an act of strategic weakness. You tie yourself to an old version of yourself. Better to be feared than loved here means being respected for silent discipline, not empty eloquence. Those who understand this avoid being hated not by trying to please, but by not creating expectations they don't intend to uphold. There are practical examples everywhere. Observe someone who says in January, "Now I'm going to train every day." That person announces it, posts about it, comments on it, and disappears within a few weeks. But someone who simply starts training 3 times a week without telling anyone creates real consistency. The same applies to studying, business, or money. An experienced mentor would recommend something simple. If you're going to learn about finance, start by reading classics like The Richest Man in Babylon or biographies of investors who operate with calculated use of force, not with excitement. If you're going to change careers, study in silence, build skills, and only speak when the groundwork is already solid. Virtù and fortuna favor those who act with strategic coldness. Your own loyal armies are not formed with speeches, but with repeated training. And while many are still trapped in the pleasure of promising, some have already realized that true power lies in not announcing anything. An invisible advantage that begins to shape the next move in the game. There is a type of power that makes no noise, doesn't demand attention, and doesn't need explaining. And it's precisely this power that almost no one notices at the beginning of the year. While most feel an almost childlike urgency to announce plans, those who understand politics, guided by reality, not ideals, choose silence as a strategy. An experienced mentor often says that silence, when conscious, creates asymmetry. It confuses, disarms, and protects. Those who announce nothing create no expectations, don't commit to fragile narratives, and don't waste energy maintaining an image. Machiavelli understood this deeply when he observed that revealing intentions too early is offering a free advantage to the world. The end justifies the means, and here the means are simple. Silence to build. Silence is not the absence of action. It is the ideal environment for action to grow without external interference. Virtù and fortuna begin to align when no one is watching. There's something even more subtle about this invisible advantage. It shifts the psychological axis. Those who talk too much end up living in an imagined future. Those who remain silent live in the actionable present. Decisions based on real human nature show that focus is a scarce resource, and every explanation consumes focus. The mentor observes that silent people advance faster because they don't need to convince anyone, neither others nor themselves. Not announcing anything also reduces external resistance. When no one knows what you're doing, no one tries to give their opinion, sabotage, or discredit you. Better to be feared than loved here takes on a new meaning. It's better to be respected for an unexpected result than applauded for a predictable promise. Avoiding being hated doesn't come from pleasing, but from not generating fragile expectations that later turn into frustration. The calculated use of force begins with the control of information. In practice, this applies in an almost obvious way, although it's rarely practiced. Someone who decides to study for a competitive exam, for example, doesn't need to tell the whole family. They just need to choose good materials, create a fixed schedule, and progress day by day. Someone who wants to start a business doesn't need to post motivational quotes. They need to understand cash flow, study simple business models, and test them in silence. Your own loyal armies are built with routine, not applause. A mentor would suggest something concrete. In January, drastically reduce what you talk about regarding plans and increase what you execute in silence. Read, for example, books that teach strategic thinking. Observe discreet people who have progressed without announcement and copy their method, not their speech. The invisible advantage is born precisely there, in that space where nobody is looking, and it is in this silent terrain that the noisy enthusiasm of others begins, without realizing it, to become their biggest mistake. Every experienced mentor smiles when they see someone starting the year full of motivation, not out of disdain, but because they understand the hidden pattern behind it. Initial motivation is high emotion without structure, and high emotion always exacts a price later. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, teaches that enthusiasm doesn't sustain anything in the long run. It's volatile, dependent on stimulus, and above all, predictable. Machiavelli knew that human beings confuse momentary energy with real virtue. The end justifies the means, but here the means, motivation, is too fragile to sustain the end. Those who start too enthusiastically usually start wrong. Too fast, too public, too intense, and everything born in excess dies in exhaustion. True strength rarely appears making noise. It manifests itself in an almost boring, repetitive, and silent way. The fatal flaw in motivation is that it creates unrealistic expectations about the process. People believe they will feel good doing what needs to be done, when in practice, growth requires discomfort, boredom, and frustration. Decisions based on real human nature show that the brain avoids pain and seeks immediate pleasure. When motivation drops, and it always does, the project crumbles along with it. The mentor often says that enthusiasm is a terrible leader. It accelerates at the beginning and abandons it halfway through. Better to be feared than loved. Here means respecting cold discipline more than emotional impulse. Avoiding being hated, even by yourself, involves not creating internal promises that you cannot keep. The appearance of virtue is starting enthusiastically. True virtue is continuing when no one is enthusiastic, not even you. In practice, those who understand the game start the year with almost no visible emotion. Not because they are discouraged, but because they are structured. Instead of grandiose goals, they create small systems, fixed schedules, simple tasks, measurable progress. Want to study? Choose a few essential books and read a little each day, even without the motivation. Want to train? Set specific days and go whether you're excited or not. Want to earn more money? Learn basic fundamentals, test small ideas, and adjust with constant adaptability. Your own loyal armies are not formed at the peak of excitement, but through disciplined repetition. While the motivated attract attention at the beginning, the cold observe in silence because they know that the real game begins precisely when collective enthusiasm starts to die, and it is at this moment that almost everyone lowers their guard. There's a specific moment when the board becomes clear, silent, and vulnerable, and almost no one notices when it arrives. The attentive mentor knows that this moment arises right after the peak of collective excitement. When everyone is distracted writing goals, posting ready-made phrases, and discussing plans that don't yet exist, the real game begins for those who see beyond the surface. Politics, guided by reality, not by ideals, shows that advantage doesn't arise when everyone is paying attention, but when the majority is too busy looking at their own reflection. Machiavelli understood that power shifts during moments of collective distraction. The end justifies the means, and here the means are simple. Act while no one is watching. The noise of others creates the perfect curtain for silent movements. While the masses are emotionally preoccupied, the cool-headed are analyzing. They observe behaviors, recurring flaws, missed opportunities. Decisions based on real human nature reveal that people lower their guard when they believe they are starting over. That's where gaps appear. Better to be feared than loved, in this context, means being respected for impeccable timing, not for stated intention. Avoiding being hated comes from not confronting directly, but from advancing without drawing attention. The calculated use of force appears in the choice of moment. It's not about doing more, it's about doing it at the right time. The appearance of virtue distracts. Silent virtue builds ground. Those who understand this don't rush to act on day one. They wait for the noise to subside, to move with precision. In everyday life, this translates into simple, almost invisible actions. While colleagues announce major changes, someone observes which functions are neglected and begins to master them. While competitors talk about innovation, someone studies basic processes and executes them better. A mentor would suggest practical actions. January is a great month to learn something no one wants to learn, to take on boring responsibilities, or to study forgotten fundamentals. Reading reports, understanding numbers, learning a quiet technical skill creates a real advantage. Your own loyal armies are formed when you grow without depending on the enthusiasm of others. Virtù and Fortuna align when you use the time when everyone is distracted to position yourself better. And without realizing it, when most people start to wake up from the ritual of promises, the game has already changed, and those who moved in silence are already a few steps ahead. A common mistake for those starting the year is confusing movement with progress. Doing a lot doesn't mean being well-positioned. The experienced mentor observes that most people act, run, keep busy, but remain in the same place on the board. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, teaches that power doesn't come from the quantity of actions, but from the strategic position you occupy while acting. Machiavelli knew that territory comes before battle. The end justifies the means, and here the means are not brute force, but intelligent choice of where to step. Those who position themselves well do less and reap more. Those who only act wear themselves out trying to push the world. Virtù is not in the rush, but in the cold reading of the game before the first step. Positioning changes the rules without needing to confront anyone. When you occupy a space where your natural strength is amplified, the game starts working in your favor. Decisions based on real human nature show that people react to context, not intention. A well-positioned professional is seen as a reference without needing to self-promote. A well-positioned investor doesn't chase opportunities. They are sought after. Better to be feared than loved here means being respected for the position you hold, not for the sympathy you convey. Avoiding being hated comes from not competing directly, but from choosing territory where few can enter. The appearance of virtue is acting a lot. True virtue is choosing the right field and letting the environment do part of the hard work. In practice, the mentor translates this into simple decisions. Instead of doing more, choose where to do it. At work, this might mean becoming indispensable in a critical role, rather than just being another hard worker. In studies, it might mean focusing on a rare and applicable skill instead of accumulating generic knowledge. In business, it might mean operating in a specific niche before trying to scale. Your own loyal armies are built when you dominate a territory before expanding. The calculated use of force appears when you understand that you don't need to win every battle, just choose those where victory is almost inevitable. And it is precisely when most people still confuse action with progress that the need arises to understand why so many need to believe in miraculous turnarounds to keep moving forward. There's a profound reason why so many people cling to the idea of new year, new life. It's not genuine hope, it's psychological relief. The experienced mentor observes that the belief in a change of scenery acts as an emotional painkiller. It reduces the pain of admitting that nothing has truly changed. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, teaches that human beings prefer comfortable narratives to honest diagnoses. Machiavelli understood this when he noted that people need symbols to continue accepting their own stagnation. The end justifies the means, and here the means is the illusion of a fresh start. The change promises redemption without demanding a real rupture. Virtù and Fortuna, however, are not moved by symbolic dates. They respond to cold decisions made at the right time. The belief in a turnaround also preserves the ego. If everything starts over in January, no one needs to take responsibility for repeated choices. Decisions based on real human nature show that taking responsibility hurts more than believing in magical cycles. That's why the naive need the narrative. It allows them to make mistakes without learning. Better to be feared than loved, in this context, means fearing the truth more than loving the fantasy. Avoiding being hated even by oneself becomes a sophisticated exercise in self-deception. The appearance of virtue appears in ready-made phrases. Real virtue appears when someone accepts that there was no turnaround at all. There was continuity. The mentor knows that those who depend on turnarounds also depend on circumstances, and circumstances rarely favor those who don't take a stand. In practice, breaking free from illusion requires a simple and uncomfortable gesture, looking at patterns, not dates. Instead of asking, "What will I do this year?" the question changes to, "What have I been repeating for years?" Those who answer honestly begin to cut at the root. A clear example: those who always abandon projects after 3 months don't need new motivation. They need minimal structure and clear limits. Those who always spend more than they earn don't need positive affirmations. They need basic control and cold, hard decisions. Your own loyal armies are formed when you abandon the belief in external turnarounds and take internal command. The calculated use of force begins when you stop waiting for the perfect moment and start creating continuous advantage. And when this illusion falls, something even more powerful emerges. The realization that there is a silent rule operating all the time, deciding who will dominate the year even before it begins. There is an unwritten law that governs all long cycles, but almost no one talks about it because it's neither pretty nor motivational. The experienced mentor calls it the rule of invisible time. Whoever acts before collective expectation dominates those who react after it. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, shows that the year is not decided in January, but much earlier, in the months when no one was watching. Machiavelli understood that real power is never born at the official moment of the beginning, but in the silent preparation that precedes it. The end justifies the means, and here the means are simple and brutal, to begin when there is no applause whatsoever. Virtù and fortuna align when the individual acts outside the emotional radar of the masses. While everyone is still trapped in the narrative of afterwards, this unspoken rule works because expectation is a psychological trap. When everyone expects something, the reaction is slow, heavy, and predictable. Decisions based on real human nature show that people only move when the pain intensifies or when they see someone advancing. Those who understand the game use this to their advantage. Better to be feared than loved at this point means being respected for anticipation, not for the response. Avoiding being hated comes from not competing for attention, but from appearing ready when no one expected it. The appearance of virtue is waiting for the right moment. True virtue is creating the moment while others sleep. The calculated use of force appears when you invest energy before the environment becomes competitive. In everyday life, this rule is simple to apply, although uncomfortable. Those who want to grow professionally begin preparing when there are no job openings yet. Those who want to start a business begin studying the market when no one is talking about it. Those who want to change their bodies begin training when there are no public promises. Your own loyal armies are built in this invisible time where there is no external incentive. A mentor would suggest something direct. If you want to dominate the year, stop thinking about January and start thinking about accumulated advantage. Small actions taken early have a devastating compound effect. Virtù and fortuna favor those who understand that time is territory. And when this rule begins to become clear, an even more strategic question arises. If anticipation creates so much power, at what point exactly can disappearing be more effective than appearing? There comes a precise moment when appearing too often starts to cost more than disappearing. The experienced mentor recognizes this moment not by the calendar, but by the surrounding behavior. When everyone starts observing, comparing, and reacting, exposure ceases to be an advantage and becomes a risk. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, teaches that excessive visibility attracts interference, noise, and resistance. Machiavelli understood that power grows best outside the reach of the collective gaze. The end justifies the means, And here the means is strategic retreat, disappearing not to escape but to consolidate. Virtù and fortuna align when you control the rhythm of your own presence. Those who appear all the time become predictable references. Those who disappear at the right moment return as a surprise. Disappearing is an advanced form of calculated use of force. By reducing signs, you reduce attacks. Decisions based on real human nature show that people react to what they see, not to what is being prepared. Better to be feared than loved. At this point means being respected for unpredictability. Avoiding being hated involves not provoking direct comparisons while you are still building. The appearance of virtue is to remain visible and accessible. True virtue is to choose temporary invisibility to strengthen structure. The mentor observes that many lose advantage due to anxiety for recognition. They want validation too early. They don't realize that each explanation weakens the position and each justification reveals fragility. In practice, disappearing can be simple and extremely effective. It's about stopping announcing partial progress, reducing social exposure, and decreasing unnecessary explanations. It's about exchanging posts for study, conversations for execution, and reaction for method. Those who want to grow financially, for example, can stop discussing plans and focus on learning fundamentals, expense control, basic investment, generating real income. Those who want to evolve professionally can distance themselves from internal disputes and master key skills in silence. Your own loyal armies are strengthened away from the noise. Virtù and fortuna favor those who understand that presence is a tool, not an obligation. And when this period of silence begins to take effect, an even harder decision arises. Realizing that January is not for starting anything visible, it's for coldly choosing who will be left behind before the first victory appears. January is often touted as a month of beginnings, but the experienced mentor sees something quite different happening behind the scenes. Before any real progress, there is always a cut. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, shows that no one advances by carrying everything and everyone. Machiavelli knew that power requires selection of habits, of environments, and above all, of people. The end justifies the means, and here the means are harsh but necessary, deciding who will not accompany the next phase. Virtù and fortuna do not walk with those who weigh their steps. January, in this sense, does not inaugurate anything visible. It clears the ground. Those who understand this do not announce changes, but only silently adjust the circle around them. This break is rarely dramatic. It happens in small, almost invisible decisions. Decisions based on real human nature show that most people live repeating patterns, conversations, and complaints. Continuing to be exposed to this drains focus and energy. Better to be feared than loved. Here means respecting your own path more than the approval of others. Avoiding being hated isn't about pleasing everyone, but about not engaging in unnecessary conflicts when making clear choices. The appearance of virtue is saying everyone stays. True virtue is accepting that not everyone fits into the next territory you want to occupy. The calculated use of force appears when you walk away without lengthy explanations, without emotional justifications, only with coherence. In practice, this process is almost surgical. It's about reducing contact with those who reinforce old behaviors, stopping frequenting environments that normalize mediocrity, and cutting commitments that lead nowhere. A mentor would suggest simple actions, replacing empty conversations with strategic reading, such as works that teach discipline and long-term thinking, replacing unproductive habits with minimal yet consistent routines, carefully choosing where to invest your time and attention. Your own loyal armies are formed when you carefully select who walks beside you. Virtù and fortuna align when you accept that true progress begins before the first victory, almost always in silence. And it is precisely at this point that the entire previous path begins to make sense, preparing the ground for something that can now be said clearly. Now that you've seen January 1st without the veneer of easy promises, the question is no longer, what are you going to do this year? The real question is, what are you going to stop repeating? Because all this knowledge only becomes power when it leaves the realm of understanding and enters the realm of choice. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, requires the courage to act without applause, to cut without announcement, and to stand by decisions when no one is watching. Machiavelli already knew, the end justifies the means, and the means are almost always silent, uncomfortable, and counterintuitive. Notice how everything connects. Promising exposes you. Talking too much weakens you. Motivation deceives you. Silence protects you. Positioning strengthens you. And invisible time works in your favor. Better to be feared than loved. Here isn't about literal fear, it's about respect. Respect for those who don't need to prove anything. Avoiding being hated isn't about pleasing others, it's about not creating fragile expectations. Virtue and fortuna align when you build your own loyal armies. Habits, routines, skills, and decisions based on real human nature. The calculated use of force begins when you stop trying to win through noise and start dominating through silence. So here's the invitation, or rather, the challenge. What will you leave behind from now on? What empty promises will you no longer make? In what territory will you position yourself while others are still distracted? Write this down for yourself. You don't even need to post it. And if something here bothered you, that's a great sign. It's reality hitting you. If this video made you see the game differently, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, the conversation isn't about cheap motivation. It's about strategy, power, and a cold reading of real life.